because it's hell going through divorce. You feel like you're alone, and you're not. You're absolutely not. This is a safe space. I want men and women to watch the show, married people, divorcees, single people. I want everyone to watch the show. We all have challenges in relationships, and sometimes you just need a safe space. You need to hear that someone else has gone through something so you can get through what you're going through. Hi, this is Sharon Moman, author of Pardon, the Courage to Be Set Free. Welcome to the Pardon Me series.
Hey, Sharon. How are you today?
Yeah, it was great. Welcome to the Pardon Me series, right?
Well,
hey, I'm sitting here with the author Sharon Moman with her book. Yeah. I have an idea for the last episode. We have to wear our pardon shirts. You sent me a shirt.
Yes, I did.
You just sent me. Like, oh my goodness. I think I shared this in the first episode, how I didn't think you knew I was going through a divorce. And all of a sudden, the book came to me in the mail along with the shirt. So yes, I still have my shirt. It was so encouraging. I appreciate you for writing this book. How has it been, the response since then? Like, it always continues to grow.
It is still good. It is still great. I am still, conversing with people. I have a little lady at the office that I work, Miss Olivia. She's so sweet. I'm at the point where I'm like, I feel like I'm giving my book away. I just let God tell me. At first, I was kind of like, ooh, I want Tyler to call me. I want Oprah to call me. I want to see how much I want to sell and all of that. And I was kind of in that kind of mode. And then when I started getting these responses from people, then it was like if I was with someone, I felt like they needed to have my book. I gave my book. And the lady at the office, I gave her one, and she said, Sharon, I'm gonna give this to my son and my daughter. And it was one was about a relationship, one was just about life, because that's what we talk about, pardon yourself in life as well as anything else that sets bitterness in you. And so I gave her another book. And with that, every time we're in a meeting, y'all gotten Sharon's book yet? She'll tell other people. So and to me, it's not even about sales anymore. I mean, it's good to get a check from Newman Springs. It's good to get that, but the reward is what people say. And I still have people at church pinch me, girl. I'm trying to pass a book in the sanctuary. I'm like, I can't. And they'll say, "What's your cash app?" And I'm like, "Can we wait till after service? I want Jesus turn those tables over up in here." so it's still pretty cool. It's still pretty cool that this is still going on, and I know that with the series, the exposure will bring more people to the table to have a conversation.
Absolutely. I actually felt the same way about my book. I just kind of like when you start seeing people being touched from it, grow from it, and give their testimony. Like, you already know deep down it will change, but to literally see lives change before your eyes, it makes you want to just give it a little. So I totally agree. It gets beyond the dollars to the purpose of why you even wrote the book. So kudos to you. That's when you have a good book.
Yes.
So we'll jump right into it. This is episode 5, and we're getting to the nitty-gritty of the healing process.
Right. We're going to do chapters 4 and 5 today. We're going to talk about why we stay in redemption, which is so vital, and we'll jump into that. So you let me know where you want to start.
That title, Why We Stay, is key. We touched on it a little bit in past episodes, but the truth is there's a root reason. There are roots to everybody, they're different, but still there are root reasons why we stay. And this is why the purpose of the book, to teach people how to pardon themselves. It may not be as easy as somebody think it is, but there's a reason why someone stays longer maybe than even the next. So why did you name this chapter Why We Stay?
You know, while I was writing the book, you know, God was just developing me, and I really didn't know what I was going to write. And I think that when this came up, it was like I needed to tell people, because people have their reasons of why you get a divorce. You know, it's an unauthorized reason of why you get a divorce, and so my pushback was, well, why we stay? You know, yeah, because one of the things we talk about is the shame, and we just go right into that because people. Here's the thing: there's a scripture where there's a woman at the well, and I speak about that in the book, and everybody just assumes she can't keep a man. You know, I've never heard people say a man can't keep a woman. The burden is always on us. It's always on us, and it reminds me. And I'm gonna go ahead and raise my hand. There are times when I read the Bible and I used to roll my eyes. Two specifically, that scene and the scene where the adulterous woman was brought to Jesus' feet. I always roll my eyes, and then one day God just touched me and said, "No, you're looking at it wrong." And I looked at it from the point of view where Jesus was like pissed off at the men because they only brought her. And there's two people. They didn't make dildos back then. So if she was committing adultery, there was a man. So where was he? So the same thing. I'm just saying. I think it's 18 over watching this. but you know what I'm saying? So where was he? So that's what Jesus was pretty much saying, you know. I bet one of y'all slept with her. You know what I'm saying? So it's always on us, you know, the shame and you know, we have to stay. You don't know that the reason. And like the woman at the well who had these multiple husbands, they don't know why she had husband 2, 3, 4, 5. They don't know. You know, she could have got, you know, people back in those days got married at 14. So, you know, got started early. Somebody could have went to war. Somebody could have, you know, died from or been in prison. I mean, you just never know. And the Bible doesn't say.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't say what Paul's thorn is, but what people say is she can't keep a man. Wrong, baby. I could all of those 3 husbands I had, if it was up to them, I would still be with them. So I can keep them. I just decided to lose them.
Yeah, you can keep them, but I decided to let them go. Okay, I like that. Which interestingly, because you opened up this chapter with that story of how a woman absolutely looked at you in your face. You had this shame of saying I'm divorced for the 3rd time. And she said, you know, my mom said people like you can't keep a man. Like that right there. Yeah, the stereotype.
Yeah, and it was a phone call. I don't think she would dare say it to my face, but it was a phone call. And I just thought, wow, she never calls me. It was a random call. I don't believe in random. Everything has a reason. Okay. So then she said that her and someone else had been talking about me earlier that week. Okay, why am I on your mind? I'm like, oh, she don't heard the news. You know, people love good gossip. And then I think that they take lots to see who's going to call to get more detailed information. You see what I'm saying? Because they just got general. She's divorced. Well, they want to know why. You know. So yeah. And so for me, I was healed up. But if she would have caught me a few months earlier, I probably would have burst into tears. And there because there are a lot of people who are sitting in church and they hear, you know, the pastor say or whomever say words and words matter. So when you say she can't keep a man, then that person who's dealing with a divorce, a pending divorce, she's thinking that she can't keep a man. She can't hold her family together because of the words that are spoken. It doesn't say people are splitting up. because words matter. If you just say shame is put on her. You see what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
then she may be sitting there, she close to the divorce, he almost about to sign. And in that instant, she'll think,
Oh,
oh, I better go back home.
yeah, yeah. Well, let's get to that person who's literally on that verge of either going back home or walking away. Your next advice to her to like at least in some way keep walking away when she knows she needs to. No, we're not promoting divorce. No, we're not promoting like
Right.
ending marriages. But for that person who needs to be in a healthier place, how should she keep walking? How can she rid the shame?
Just, well, one, no one's going home with you to him or her. No one's going home with you. So they don't, these pretenses they put on in front of everybody else and you cover for them, you're the one who has to live with him. You know the truth, and the truth just sets you free. And so that's my thing. That was always my thing. Even when I went through my financial situation, people, you going back to the money man? I'm like, no, I'm not.
That's a real
So
thing. That's a real thing. What
yeah,
you said, like you know who you're going home to. You know the truth. That's a real thing. And people
the true
sometimes
person.
they are not conscious or aware. They just kind of like how you said in public, they'll look and say with this smile, ignore the truth. Wow. That's a
Right,
no,
because
that's
you
a
get to see him.
real
You get to see him or her 2 hours at church. You get to see him or her 1 hour at dinner. You get to see him or her 1 hour at an event that we're at. They got the best clothes on. They got the best smile, best personality. But as soon as they hit that car, you know, all in your ear and all this stuff and unappreciation, and they get home and then they leave because they're not happy at home. So they're not home with you. They're gone. They check out, spiritually and emotionally and everything else. So the only thing missing is just the rest of them, just to ghost us. Everything else is ghost us. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just imagine how you feel when someone ghosts you and you're not even related to them or married to them.
thing.
So you know how you feel some type of way, like, oh, and it kind of makes you feel some type of way where you're kind of like, oh, really? And I can't believe it. You say to yourself, even though this is an acquaintance, an associate, or whatever, or semi friend or friend, and they ghost you. Imagine being ghosted by your partner. Y'all pay bills together. You sleep in the same bed. You have children together, and that person just ghosts you.
Explain ghosts for those who may not know. What does ghost look like?
Well, I just learned what it what it meant recently. These young people with this stuff. It just basically means you disappear. And I understand that, a ghost, you can see the ghost sometimes, and other times you can't. The ghost lets you see them. So if someone's ghosting you, they decide when you're going to communicate with them. If you think about these people who conjure up ghosts, these mediums and stuff. If the ghosts want to come through, the ghost will come through, right?
On his terms, his or her terms. Okay, I get you.
On their terms. You see what I'm saying? So,
Now, talk to us about children's sake.
okay. So for many of us, no one wants to tear a family apart. You know, um, children love both parents, and as much as it's painful to separate and get a divorce, you have to work out those intricate details of alternate weekends, holidays, all those kind of things like that. So it's hard on both parents to split up that time. You got a child going over here, you got a child going over here. And then they are introduced to the new person that is being brought into that parent's life. So that's extra burden on them. And then they also carry the burden of, you know, trying to be loyal to each
Yeah.
parent.
Yeah.
And because there are some parents, what your mama doing? What your daddy doing? You know, what her name? Give me a key to the house. You know, so
So people will
so
literally
so
stay before the children, is what you're saying. They will stay for the children instead of doing the work and keeping the family together
right.
in a way that's
I
healthy
think that
outside of
anyone
marriage.
who right, I think that anyone who goes through divorce, they are thinking this is in the best interest of the children.
Mm,
Because you either the children are going to see you happy separately, or you're going to see you miserably together. So
mm,
when that child walks in that house, it should be a harmonious setting, and if it's not, then pardon,
mm.
right? Because you're teaching what a child sees, and they will learn that, and then they will take it on. If they see daddy do it or mama act a certain way, that's how they're going to treat their spouse. You see what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So I'd rather them see an absent parent and see them every other weekend, or however, in a good spirit, where they're actually having a conversation, rather than every day where it's, loom and gloom and fight and all that kind of stuff like that. You don't want that.
So you're saying you'd rather for a child to see a parent whole by themselves versus empty and broken
Right.
together. Yeah.
Right. Right. But you have people who stay together forever and their kids are just as messed up as some kids who come from single home. I mean, true. I mean, I mean, people think that, oh, people who are single moms or single dads, they have messed up kids. No, they don't. Not,
Mm.
not all of us, and not all the time. Everybody has issues, but so yeah. And
For
it's a hard decision. It really is. It really. I know for me, it
the
was
reasons
very
that
hard.
you're naming, for the many
Yeah.
segments that we're getting ready to, well, that we're on now, children's sake, and then
Mhm.
you mentioned a little bit earlier finances. You had your own battle. You
Right.
talked about it in the last chapter, and like you just said, people say, "Hey, are you going back to the money man?" Because especially women who have been dependent, or I should say, had a comfortable lifestyle living with someone
Right.
else.
Right. You get used to it, and here's the thing. Um, when you are blindsided by the infidelity rumors, uh or the abuse, you haven't saved up money. You are living paycheck to paycheck. You're racking up bills, credit cards, all those kind of things like that. So you can't go nowhere. You can't go anywhere. So the debt keeps you there. Now, for
Mm.
other people, they like the lifestyle. They like a person paying half their rent. So they can they can do what they want to do, with their money and so forth. So they're fine. They're like, we got an extra bedroom. You gonna stay over there, and I'll be on this side. And they live like that, so they're fine with it. They're absolutely fine with it. I'm just not one of those type of people. I'll be like, mm-mm.
Well, what do you mean when you say in her own words?
So my mom, when my mom passed, I was, going through her stuff, and I found one of her purses, and inside her purse was this worn form from the VA where
Oh,
she,
I remember this. Yeah.
yeah, where she
Oh my
was
gosh.
trying to get
That one,
support. Yeah,
that got
yeah, and I had no idea, and I was like, children are. When I was a kid, I was like, I don't know what your problem is, but I need to see my daddy. And she did try to stay, and I didn't know that.
oh
I
my
know
goodness.
that's why.
That story, Sharon. I mean, I don't want you to have to share too much. I would like for people to read it, but that was very profound. It was a
Right.
profound, like, basically to me, what I got from it, just a little bit of, you know, learning from other people's lifestyle mistakes, whether it's limitations or seeing your dream they want you to dream bigger. They want you to do better. Even if they didn't know how, you can tell, you can feel, you know that they want you to grow and do better. And that's kind of like what I got from this story. Like, even though, you know, it is what it is when it comes to a lot of parents' lifestyle, you learn how to grow from it.
Right. And my mother never said, even though she had some, you know, some turbulent experiences, she never said to me, "Oh, I don't want you to ever get married." She never said that to me. You know, she was happy every single time I got married. She was absolutely happy for me. She never ever said, "Don't do this." No. My grandmother gave me extra information. She was like, "Have your own bank account, baby." I should have listened to her. But this is what I did. I said, "Grandma, that's not the Christian thing to do." Have, because I thought she was telling me to keep it in secret, and she really wasn't telling me to keep it in secret. She was just saying, "Have your own, be your own woman." But I didn't understand that at 18 years old when she was saying this to me, because back in those days when they said and told you stuff, they told you stuff in stages. You know, it wasn't like let's do 2 hours. They didn't do that. They were just like, keep your dress tail down and your pants up. That was the sex talk, right? And then the finance talk was get your own account. And then she took a sip of her Miller High Life, and I'm like, well, what does that mean? I'm like, you know, so there was not more details. So with me, I teach my sons and I tell them why. And I tell them, don't keep secrets from your spouse, but she should have her own account. You should have your own account, and y'all should have a joint account. See, they should have said that to me. But we were poor. We didn't have enough money for 3 different accounts. But when I did have more money, I'm glad I remember that with my second marriage, because he was not good with numbers. So I did have my own account. Now I learned from the first one, and people will find out in the story. I learned from the first one. You better have your own money. Yeah.
Talk to me about Marriage Club.
So Marriage Club. Ooh. I love talking to about that one. So when you hear that, what do you think?
First of all, I love the name Marriage Club. I think if we have more support with women, people who are married, I don't know. I think Marriage Club should actually happen before you get married. To be around seasoned women, to be around experienced women, particularly like that postpartum thing.
Right.
People having support.
And I think that people who are married should talk to people who have been divorced and people who are married. Because some people say to us, "Oh, yeah, you shouldn't talk to a person who divorced. They don't know what they're doing because they're divorced." And I'm like, well, you hanging on by a thread. You know, you faking it. So you're gonna give them some bad information. You see what I'm saying? So the Marriage Club. So that came up when I started thinking about how the different marriage club look down on divorced people. And my experience of being left out when you were leaving the club, your membership is over. You know, they just take your membership. You know, people don't call you anymore. The married people. Now, if you got single friends, they're gonna call you and be like, "Hey, girl, welcome. Come on over." They welcome you. They welcome you, but married folks, it's like you got COVID or something. You know, you just got divorced. You didn't get anything else, and no one can catch divorce. You know what I'm saying? But that's how they treat you. They treat you like you got a symptom and a disease or something. And it's like, no, I just got a divorce and I still need your love and your support. But people who are still married, they have these unofficial married club, and I'm telling you, you can ask a lot of people. The wife will tell the husband, don't talk to her ex-husband, and then the husband will tell his wife, don't talk to the newly divorced wife. Once you get no ideas, I mean, ask your parents. They'll tell you. So, you know, it's those kind of things where you're kind of like you experience and you feel that, and it's not a good place, but you just look at it and go, okay, I'm still be fine. But you
Yeah.
wish that you would still receive love the same way, and that you're not looked at
Mhm.
like you're an
Yeah.
outcast.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I can see that. I think we are, and this is unfortunate, but I think we are seeing a generation and even more who's either they're not getting married or they're easily getting a divorce without trying to go through the hard part or working some things out.
Right,
So
right.
the shame part for some people who didn't take marriage as serious isn't there, but those who really appreciated the sacredness of marriage, there is
Hmm.
definitely that. I feel like, because no, you feel that shame a little bit, even if it's not a lot, it's
Hmm.
can be there. But I agree, it is unfortunate. It is kind of like sad. Um, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna be real honest with it. It's like I didn't even realize that shame came only when I was thinking about being around people who were church people. Like my
Yeah.
work friends, like, "Hey, girl," like you said, "Come on up,
Come on over. Come on over, girl.
come
Let me give
on,
you some more.
girl."
You are right. You are right. And you want that from everybody, but and it's not their fault. They just been taught, culture, community, and church is part of it. And I was really want people to understand. I am not talking about church. I love church. I am there every Sunday, Wednesday night because the Lord loves me. But every group has issues, you know like every business. If you're a lawyer, there are problems there. If you're a doctor, there are problems there. If whatever it is, no one's perfect. No group is perfect. No group is perfect. And and, and so we've got 7 things. So we talked about everything except for fear and religion. So we'll talk about the fear, and then wrap it up with the religion as far as why we stay. The fear, I think that some people think that if they leave that person, they can never get another person. They don't know anything else outside of him or her, and they don't have enough confidence in themselves. And it's one of those situations where they don't understand their own power and authority, where they think that they just have to that their identity is just with that person. They don't understand they have their own identity, but they have been, I want to choose my words carefully. They have been taught to think that that person is their identity. You know, the Bible said we were one flesh, but we still got unique fingerprints. We're one flesh a different way, but some people can take that literally, figuratively, and really think that they cannot exist outside of their marriage. And so that part of fear keeps them there, and in the fear of them when it's the physical abuse, there's real fear there that keeps a person there. They really think that that person's going to come get them if they
Mhm.
leave. They're going to show up at their
Wow.
job, or they're going to, show up at the wherever they are. So you have to, and I thought about that. What if? And I'm like, I had all these scenarios in my head, what I would do, how much time I would spend in jail, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, I'm like, "You're going down without a fight." But so you do think about all these different things. So a lot of fear creeps in. Will I be able to pay my bills? All these different things. Will my kids be all right? So all fear is just broad,
Yeah,
just very,
it's
very
real.
broad.
It's a scary thing. It's a
Yeah.
scary.
And then put everything on your own again. Yeah, a lot. And then will you get into another relationship? How will your heart fare?
Mm.
you know so it's fear all around. It's all around. And then so finally religion, like I said, we kind of been touching on it a little bit, Religion will make you stay because again, and this is the scripture. Oh, thank you, Jesus. Okay, so this is the scripture that's always read in church to hold that family together, right? It's First Corinthians, and I talk a little bit about it in the book, but I use a different scripture, but it's saying the same thing. But here I found this one, and I was like, I fell on the floor and I started laughing because I never really paid attention to it because well, let me just read. Okay, First Corinthians chapter 7, and they usually okay to start with verse 10, and unto the married I command, yet not I, but the Lord, let not the wife depart from her husband, right? But if she depart, let her remain unmarried. So if you divorce, you got to stay unmarried and be reconciled to her husband, or be reconciled to her husband, and let not a husband put away his wife. But to speak, but the rest speak, I not the Lord. If any brother had a wife that believeth not, and she be pleased to dwell with him, let him not put her away. And the woman which had a husband that believeth not, saying it, not believing in Christ, if he is pleased to dwell with her. So it's saying to the person who's messed up, if you got a Christian wife or husband, if you want to stay, you stay. You ain't. If you stay, it's a good thing, but you can leave if you want. That's what it's saying right here, right? So the believing husband is sanctified by the wife, and the unbelieving wife is sanctified by the husband, else your children were unclean. But here's verse 15, y'all. And I fell on the floor. But if the unbelieving depart, so when your spouse start cheating on you, start beating you, doing something, he don't believe in God no more. Okay, so verse 15. But if the unbelieving depart, let him depart. They don't read that in church. And look, a brother or sister is not a brother or sister, us church folks, is not under bondage in such cases, but God had called us to peace. He has called us to peace. When you fighting like dogs in the house, police gotta come. Is that peace? That's not peace. There's another scripture that says, if possible, live peaceable with all men. If possible, the Lord knows that some people just have evil in their heart and they just don't want to act right in this season. You ain't gotta be with someone to help them with salvation. You really don't. I pray for my exes all the time. Bless their heart. But not be out my door. But you see what I'm saying? God, if they leave, let them. So they first leave emotionally, right? Then they've already left us spiritually, because if they're doing heinous stuff, they've already left us spiritually. We're supposed to be one flesh. That one flesh is about the spirit, not really technically the body, unless the sex part. But so they left us spiritually, then they leave us emotionally. And then the only thing lacking is them to leave us physically. And if they haven't done it, they're going to do it. They're just going to do it on their timetable. So, religion makes us Christian women hang on to the very last minute. We're the ones sitting there, and then all of a sudden, like, did he leave? He's gone. You're like, wait a minute. I could have left 3 years ago. You see, that was me with the last one. Even though I filed for the divorce, I should have filed for it years earlier, and I became bitter because I didn't go when I wanted to go. I waited until he did one more thing, and then I went. You know what I'm saying? And I was bitter. I was more bitter because of it. So, when someone does all that to you, it leaves a hole in you, and then now it's got to be filled. And my hole may be this big, and somebody else's hole may be this big, and it just takes time to to heal and to grow from your experiences.
So, out of all that you just named of why we stay, what was the biggest reason why you stayed?
Children. That was the biggest one for number one. I think for number two, it was courage. I didn't have enough courage.
Mm-hmm.
And then for number three was shame. I was like, oh, they're gonna talk about me because this number three. I was like, oh my God. I was like, I can't. I was like, he gonna get better. He gonna get better, you know.
Wow.
And the more grace I gave, the more he acted up. And it's like us as Christians, the more grace God gives us, the more we're gonna just like, okay, God, I got this, and we're gonna act a fool. And then he has to chastise us and put us in timeout, and you know, and then redemption comes, and that's our segue into the next chapter.
All right.
redemption
Redemption
can be
time.
had.
Yeah.
Yes. And so right after I knew my book was not ready yet. I had submitted it and everything. We were about to go to print. I read through it and I was like, oh, it's not ready, Lord. I was like, something's missing. And I started thinking about my favorite movie, The Shawshank Redemption. I started thinking about that. And I came up with this short little chapter here, Redemption. And basically, what redemption says, it says the action of saving or being saved from sin. That's when you're relating to God. But for us in a relationship, being saved from error or evil in the action of regaining or possession of something in exchange for payment or clearing a debt. So what I want people who are staying together, if you're not leaving, I want you to pardon your spouse. And there are 4 pardons, right? We have full, partial, absolute, and conditional. Where would you like me to start?
Interestingly, you said if you're not leaving.
If you're not leaving, right? Because we're not promoting divorce. We're promoting get that relationship right, or pardon inside, and if you can't pardon inside, then pardon outside. That's it.
So I like that because that's deep. I like how you're saying you didn't focus on that leaving, you focus on the staying. How does this look, staying? Full, partial, absolute, and conditional. How does that look?
Okay, so there are people who hold their other spouse hostage. They're like, I ain't going nowhere. You ain't going nowhere. We just gonna be miserable together. So and they're always they have a good time, but they always fussing about something because there's unresolved issues, and they never forget. An argument can come up about the curtain falling. He or she will say, "Oh, I remember that time when you slept with Leroy," or "I remember that time you slept with Sheila." And the person, that was 30 years ago. The curtain fell. Why are you talking about that now? You see what I'm saying? So, I mean, I got a relative. I'm going to say who it was. I got a relative. That's their marriage. They nobody going nowhere.
That's a lot of people.
Okay, this thing is I'm moving too much here. I'm moving too much. Let me sit still. I just get so excited. Okay, so a full pardon. Let's just kind of go through these. A full pardon is unconditional. It absorbs the person of the conviction in all of the crimes and consequences. All. So you can't. You know how I know. And I speak on behalf of women. You know how we are. We were like, I don't forgive, but I'm gonna hold on to this. I'm gonna hold on to this trump card. You know what I'm saying? We hold on to one thing that we can pull out at any time, right? But if you're gonna fully pardon somebody, it has to be unconditional. That means no strings attached.
Yeah.
right? You just forgive them. You just say, you just make a decision. I'm going to forgive you and we're going to go on. You don't have to buy me any jewelry. You don't have to do this. You don't have to sleep on the couch 3 days. You know how we do it when we're mad. We're like, okay, you go time out. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, okay. So a partial pardon only relieves the person from some of the crimes and punishment or consequences. So that's what we're talking about. You just say, well, I'm gonna let you back in the house, but we ain't gonna have sex. You see what I'm saying? Partial. Back
Yeah.
in, not back in. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Literally and figuratively. Okay, and the next one is absolute.
Okay.
Granted without conditions, right? So that's part of what I was saying earlier. It's granted without conditions. It's not saying that I'm trying to think of something. You can't have lunch with any more females.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that. Absolute granted without any conditions. Nobody never thought about that. Yep, you're right. That is
Right. Because
that
a
you
person can
know,
have a jealous spirit and the spouse is not even doing anything, but they fussing and fighting about the same thing that hasn't happened.
yeah.
And then she like, well, okay, well, you don't have lunch with any women ever again. Or
Yeah.
so it's not an absolute pardon. Absolute and the full pardons are the best. So the last one is conditional. Some condition, usually to be fulfilled by the person seeking the pardon, must occur before the pardon takes effect. So this is kind of a two-part conditional. So let's say there's a husband who doesn't wear his wedding band.
You have some good examples off the bat, real fast.
Girl, they just kind of coming to me. So he's good looking. So, women are trying to holler at him or whatever. And so
Yeah.
even if he hadn't done anything, something's gonna happen. So you're like, listen, dude, it's a condition. You need to wear that red wedding band to make me feel better, right? You see what I'm saying? Because you're supposed to be all in. You put it on the day we got married. Why you wearing it now? So anyway, so that's one half. The other half says some conditional pardons become void when a specified condition occurs, such as the former offender committing another crime. So just because I forgave you for the first infidelity doesn't mean that you get to be forgiven or pardoned every single time you cheat on me. No, it was conditional. It was based on the condition that you would not do it again. So if you do it again, I'm out. So those four pardons, you know, people can use them as they see fit, and you have to say, okay, if this person does this again, you talk to your spouse and you say, because everybody has needs. If woman burns a man pork chops, and it's not that hard to not burn pork chops, but she does it anyway. I mean, she's trying, right? So he's like, you know, I'm trying to love you, but you keep burning my pork chops. So it's a condition. You know what I'm saying? So it works
Let it
both sides,
go.
male and female.
So you're saying basically you're gonna let it go or you need to go. Let it go is basically a full pardon.
Right. You need to, and what you can do this in steps. You can start with a conditional
Okay.
or a partial. You see what I'm saying? And work it up to an absolute and a full.
Yeah.
Because your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us cannot give people a full pardon up front.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, you have to, but you eventually have to get there. You have to get, and the timeline for it getting there. I can't say, Chara, okay, you do partial for this many hours or days, and then you need to give full. I can't say that to you. But all I say is take this and apply it to your situation. But some people you can't give a full pardon to, on that on a certain offense, and this applies to just so many different things in your relationship. You know what I'm saying? In friendship and everything else. You can't just let people just kind of run over you. You're giving away your power. You're giving away your authority, and God's gonna hold you accountable for that. You can't say, "Well, they did this to me." You let them do that to you.
Mm. So basically, two things I'm hearing. The root of it is how you get to a place. If you're gonna stay, do what Christ did for us. Forgive like He forgave us.
Right. And he said, like he said to the woman at the well, no, the adulterous woman, I forgive you. Go and sin no more.
Yeah, absolutely. 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 Yeah. And then
So I
even,
think there are a lot of people who are getting divorced. It's because there's multiple offenses. The offenses keep occurring.
yeah,
People think that, oh, stay in there, child. Hold on. Wait on God. Well, God
yeah,
gonna kill him if I keep waiting.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think your life is an example of learning, not just forgiving others, but forgiving yourself. Like we talked about
Yeah.
that throughout the series. And so when you learn to forgive yourself, it's a little bit easier to forgive the other person because you're so much freer and you're not
Yeah.
letting their situations get to you. You took care of you. That's what pardon is about, is focusing on who I am, what do I want, what does God have for me, and walk that healthier space and place. So yeah, you are that example. We can
Well,
see.
thank you. It hadn't always been easy, like I said, we talk about taking the steps. Um, for me, I've learned part of my rehab program is not compromising on my principles from God. That's gonna work for me going forward. Not compromise on my principle from God, and have my own plan. And if I need to adapt or modify it, then I'll do so at my willingness. A lot of times people get in a relationship and they want to please, please, please the other person, and they just lose themselves. And all of a sudden there's a problem. And, also for me, part of my rehab process, as I call it, is to discern the spirit and don't disregard what you feel, what you see, and what you know. Don't disregard it.
That's
Don't
true.
don't disregard it. We do that so often as women, and I'm sure if many men watching this, you guys, you are born with discernment just like women are. And I'm just speaking because I'm speaking on behalf of women because I'm a woman. Like I could speak on behalf of Black people because I'm Black. But not to say that you guys don't have it, but we have this women intuition or gut feeling, we call it, or whatever. That's just spirit, man. And when you recognize that you got a little bit, God will give you a little bit more, like the talent. Whatever you recognize that you have, He'll double it. And that's what I'm seeing in my life. That's what's manifesting now. Now that I've stopped denying my power and my authority, God is saying, "All right, girl, give you a little bit more." So I get a
Yeah.
little bit more, and I'm like, "Ooh," and I love it. I
Yeah.
absolutely love it. This person who was shy and timid and naive, and when you say you all these things, you become all those things. You
Yeah.
know, I talk about a lot in the book about how I was green, but I could have learned quicker, if I wanted to. Some of that, you know, you stay in a realm because that's where you want to be.
That's true. That's real true. That's real. Well, like I
Mhm.
said, I
Yeah.
just believe that your life is a testimony, and so we can see you living out that freedom. It looks good on you. Freedom looks good on you. So I want to
There's a
say thank you
song.
everybody for joining.
There's a
That's a song. What'd you
Yeah,
say?
I'm gonna send it to you. There's a song, "Freedom Looks Good on You." I'm gonna send it to you.
Okay, send it to me.
Maverick City. I think that's who it
Oh,
is.
okay.
Yeah.
Yes, send it to me. So we want to thank everybody for joining us for episode 5. We have one more episode. We will see you then. Thank you, Miss Sharon, for sharing you with us as always.